Welcome back to another episode of Your Money, a personal finance podcast. I'm your host, John Abbott, joined by Peter Cishecki, president from Everything Financial, helping us bring this podcast to you. I want to say hello again to you, Peter, and a big thank you on behalf of both of us for subscribing, listening, and sharing this podcast. It's what makes us excited, being able to help so many different people with their personal finances. And reminder to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube, on the YouTube channel. We've had plenty of feedback so far. We're just in the very early stages of developing this. And Peter, one of the questions we got, and reminder, you can also submit those questions by emailing yourmoney@everythingfinancial.com. One of those questions coming into Peter we'll start off with right away via our listener feedback, because we're here to educate, we're here to help. That's what the main purpose of this podcast is all about. It deals with the emergency business response, Peter, that the assistant program that the government has put out to specifically to help businesses and how to pay that back. So I know you viewed the question as well. What's your response to the listener that emailed in?
Yeah, the Canadian Emergency Business Account, which is that $40,000 loan that the government will give you to help with your business. And a listener was concerned about not really getting the money. Their concern was, what do I do when I have to pay it back? So you're not paying it back, $30,000 of it, mind you, not the whole 40. You get 10 of that you get to keep by December 2022. So what I said to a lot of business owners is, if you get that money and you need it for things, start planning an automatic monthly budget in your payroll system where you're putting some money aside into a savings account, into a business account, whatever it may be. Divide how long you have till 2022 and put some of that money aside every single month from your revenue. And you need, in December 2022, have an outgoing item in your payroll system where you know $30,000 is going right back to the bank. Because when you get this benefit, it's actually done through your business account, through your banker. It's through that institution. So when you open up your online banking for your business, you're going to see that loan written there every day to remind you. So set up a savings plan to start paying the money back right away, because last thing you want to do is get to December 2022 and you haven't allocated the funds for it. So like everything else we talk about, set up a plan to get on track right from the beginning.
Again, you can email your questions to yourmoney@everythingfinancial.com. Find Peter at everythingfinancial.com. He is the president of Everything Financial, and one of your proudest moments is developing the OMNI Formula, Peter. It's helped so many people to this point, and that's what we get to dig into today. If you haven't heard of it, or if you're wondering exactly the step-by-step process, and I love this because it actually ties into everything we've covered already. This relates to the COVID-19 challenging period of time that we're in, because this is actually a wonderful roadmap for everyone to follow. You call it a financial GPS. So that applies back to, keeping more of your money in your pockets, but also a proprietary system to be able to allow you to retire when you'd like to retire, as an example as well. How did you come up with this, Peter? And when you landed on it, man, you must have been overjoyed.
It was. For years, I've been explaining financial planning. And when I explain financial planning for many years now, initially I just said it was like a map, take you from point A to point B. And then we got into the high-tech world years ago, and we started remember the days when we actually had a GPS that we would go buy at a store and we put it on the dash of our car?
I still need
smartphones, right? Before smartphones. And I had that. And I used to say to people, our plan wasn't called the OMNI Formula then, but our financial plan is just like the GPS. It was called the TomTom back then you bought. There's one I had anyways.
One of many.
Yeah, and that's what our plan is. We gather a lot of information because the first thing we want to do is give you clarity and remove the anxiety and give you a picture of where you are right now on your GPS, the starting point. Where am I going from? You don't know how to get somewhere if you don't know where you are. If you're going to do a cross-country drive or you're going to go to Banff for the vacation, how do I get to Banff? I don't know how you get to Banff. Where are you? It's a lot different if you're in Whistler or you're in Kelowna or if you're in White Rock or on the island or down in Calgary, whatever the case may be. So that's how the plan starts, is where are you? We gather a bunch of information, make that very clear where you are. Where do you want to go? What's your destination? It's not just retirement, paying off the house, saving for a holiday, helping, money for your kids for school. What are the stops along the way? And then just like Google Maps, we give you step-by-step instructions on how to get from point A to point B. And we're even there for the wrong turn. If you make a wrong turn, we will help you.
Well, Peter, I so appreciate that, what you just concluded with, the fact that you're willing to make it a step-by-step process, because oftentimes from past experiences, it's okay, sit in the chair, everything comes at you 100 miles per hour. Maybe you're afraid to ask questions. And next thing you know, what you think is a good plan for your finances is just being dictated to you, and there isn't much help. And so I think whether you are pre-retirement or certainly if you are heading into retirement, that's this OMNI formula is the way to go, because it is a personal plan, and yet that's just it. You're treated like a person that needs help, and all of us do. That's why you are paid, and you're the professional, but you have the understanding as well as the relatable skills to walk people through this. So let's pretend it is the GPS, because that's a fantastic way to reference that. You get through the initial consultation and the setup, the initial plan. What are some of the other checkpoints along the way that people are going to be guided through in this OMNI formula that's going to help them achieve what they want to achieve, which was, save money and to be able to retire comfortably
and reach your goals, right? So we actually break this down really slow. We don't baffle you with BS and throw a whole bunch of information at you. Because why is this called Your Money? Why is the show on CTV and TSN all called Your Money? Because for years I've been saying to people, and I say this in meetings and I believe it, I live it. It's your money. It's not mine. I have no right to tell you what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. I'm simply here to guide you, take out the confusion, and make suggestions where I see them appropriate, or tell you what you can or cannot achieve based on where you're trying to go with this. So with the OMNI formula, the first step, going to the first meeting, is us giving you a whole overview to the whole program and laying out what the 4 or 5 meeting process is going to be. Now, if we can do your plan in 3 or 4 meetings and have you be really comfortable and answer all your questions and design the plan, fine. And if it needs to take 6 or 7 meetings because it's more complicated, or we just have to slow it down for your benefit, fine. But the target is normally 5 meetings, and it's a step-by-step process. Initial meeting, I get an overview. And the first meeting when you come in then is trying to give you and working on giving you a clear picture of where you are right now. And we don't leave any stone unturned, because you can't move on in your destination unless you have a clear picture of where you're starting from. So that's step 1.
Which brings us along the road of creating your financial starting point. So you've covered that. Eventually, you work your way down the path of reviewing your investment strategies. And why is that so important, and why does it come up so early, Peter?
The biggest part of a plan, in any financial plan, is your investments, which may be your investments, but they could also be your pension at work and how that ties into your long-term goals. The first thing we want to look at is, what are you doing with your money, and are you throwing money away? Are you wasting money on fees, aka podcast episode 1? If you're not sure, go back and look at it. But are you wasting money on fees? Is your money working for you? Here's the other thing, which we will dive into more down the road: RSPs. People buy RSPs like it's Valentine's Day. It's just an artificially created holiday at the end of February where people just go spend way more money than they need to. RSPs are a key part of your plan, not because they form your retirement, because here's the thing: just because you can buy RSPs doesn't always mean you should buy RSPs. That's why we dive into the investment side so early in the plan, because I don't want people wasting money. Easiest way to make money is don't give the money away. Fees, savings, or unnecessary spending. That's why investments come in so early, because it's one of those things that can make the biggest change on a plan. And do you know, many times people come in, we do an evaluation, and then once we get all their information, they may have only reached, say, 65% of their goal. They're only about 65% of the way there. Just by going through and reducing fees, not having them spend an extra dime. Their plan can go to 65%, from 65 to 85 or 90%. Happens all the time just by eliminating a lot of those fees, which means when we get into the next stage of a plan, there's less you need to do to reach your goals, because just by making a significant change in fees, you've already leapfrogged to another stage in your plan.
Which sounds easy, and yet it's easy to overlook. And so that's part of how you relate to people. Is you mentioned being transparent, which is something you don't always find, even with registered financial planners, but more specifically the financial institutions, as we've outlined in episode 1. But you go to Everything Financial, you get into the OMNI Formula, and those are the types of things you start to uncover. And it takes you down this road that we're being guided upon, and eventually it goes to a recommended plan. Now, you may have certain ideas along this road that you can incorporate, but there's also going to be recommendations, because ultimately, as you said, it's the individual's money, it's individual's finances, individual's end of the road dream. Yet you are there to make recommendations. So it's that careful dance that you need to walk through and participate with someone you trust, and that's provided Everything Financial. That is someone like yourself on this podcast. Why is that important for you to be able to make recommendations along the way?
And it's just what you said, the key thing. It's not it's recommendations. It's not orders or directives. It's just like when you open up the GPS in your car, excuse me, or your smartphone. It may give you 2 or 3 ways to get from point A to point B and give you step-by-step instructions how to get there. Ours is no different with our recommendations. You are here. You want to get here and here with your other goals. Our recommendations are different ways to get you from point A to point B. We're giving you different options on the roadmap and seeing which ones are best for you, which ones give you the most comfort, and which ones, frankly, you understand. It's your money. You have to know what's going on with it. You don't have to be an expert registered financial planner, but if I'm suggesting this, this, and this as different options, you have to do with which one fits your lifestyle and makes you feel best. And that's why we don't tell a client what to do. We give lots of recommendations, lots of strategies to see which one allows them to make the next turn on their journey to get to the recommended plan. And when we present you with a recommended plan, we're not done. We've just started. We've just finished inputting the information into the smartphone. Now the journey actually begins.
That's right. And we're talking with President of Everything Financial, Peter Cishecki, on the Your Money Personal Finance podcast. Thanks for being with us again today. As always, if you have questions along the way, you can email them to yourmoney@everythingfinancial.com. Whether it's previous episodes being covered or whether it's this one, we're digging in on the OMNI Formula, which is such a helpful guide into achieving your financial goals and where you want to go. And of course, for most of us, it's that bonus of retiring comfortably and being able to enjoy that part of our life. And you mentioned that's just the beginning of the plan, the step that we're at now covering it. So let's get into delivering on that plan, and not only the steps that are taken to activate that plan, but I'm sure many people like myself are wondering, okay, well, how often do we re-engage with you on this plan? What are the steps for constantly keeping communication open?
Okay, we will review the plan. This is the one mandatory thing we have. Everything's up to you. It's your choice, except this one thing. We will review the plan every year. Because when you're in your car or your phone and you make a wrong turn and that annoying voice says, turn left here because you've gone off track. It's me. That's my voice. Back of your head. I'm the annoying voice. You turned left where you shouldn't have. Turning left or making...
I thought I was the annoying voice.
Yeah, and turning left or making a wrong turn equates to 1 year in your plan. Now, you can review it more, but we will bring you in 1 year, because here's what I've learned over the years. There's 3 key things into the plan. There's your cash flow, there's inflation, and there's your rate of return on investment. And when doing a plan, you have to plan for worst case scenario. So what is worst case scenario? Well, I'll tell you what it is. First off, no one ever returns what they think they're going to return on your investments. So we discount those rates considerably on what we think you're going to get. So we don't use high artificially inflated assumptions. We take what the trend has been and we discount it. Second, we put inflation way higher than inflation has been the last few years. We're building in room for error. And third, no matter how diligent people want to be, no one really tells me how much they spend. So I pad their cash flow. So I build in room for error. So when I say on a plan, the target is 100%, what does 100% mean? And here's what commission financial planners do who are selling products when they say they're going to do a financial plan. Oh, you're only going to need about 75% of what you're making before you retire to live comfortably at retirement. Excuse me? I don't know anyone who spends less at retirement. They spend it differently, especially in those first years up until about 75 or 80 years old, where you're putting in a lot of travel. So we plan for that. Spend high at the beginning, spend later on, and build in a buffer. And a buffer is 100%. What that means is you're only spending your interest, not your principal. Therefore, you've created room for error in case interest rates go, on your return go down, inflation goes way up, and oh, guess what? You spend more than you think. Build in the room for error plan and review it every single year. Not your investments, review the plan every single year so you don't make a wrong turn.
And you've taken us through the OMNI Formula, which allows you financial growth, which allows you really financial sustainability when you get into retirement and to be able to enjoy all that hard work, which is the whole point, right? And I appreciate that you are not only taking us through the step by step, but the clear indicator is that you are flexible and this is flexible. Why is that important when you're going through something like this?
It's cliche, but it's your money. It's not mine. I can't tell you what to spend. I had a client come in recently, 6 months into a plan. Retirement was 4 years away, everything in place. They were right on track. 6 months in, comes in for a review meeting, which is fine, puts the OMNI Formula and our personal financial organizer that we provide you with on the thing and says, this isn't working. Like, okay, what's not working? She says, I can't wait 4 years. Both my kids got transferred to Ontario. They've taken my grandkids away. I need to retire now. That's the beauty of the OMNI Formula. It's completely flexible. We can change the plan. All the work, and there's hours and hours of work in this 5 or 6 meetings go into designing the initial plan. Once that's done, you're tweaking it every year and keeping it up to date. That's easy. So the success is really in the details. We uncover everything, because if you don't look at it properly when you set it up and you put garbage into the plan and there's not full disclosure, you're going to get garbage out. I'd rather take a step back, take time, and methodically help you figure out the plan at the beginning so you can navigate the journey simpler down the road. That's why it says guidance, performance, and strategy, GPS. It wasn't an accident. The OMNI Formula logo is a compass. We're directing you where you want to go. And by the way, did you know, John, do you know how the word Omni came about in OMNI Formula?
I don't.
Oh, there's the quiz for the day. Omni is Latin for everything.
Perfect.
Gosh, that education worked out well in school. And that's how we came up with the plan. It's there. We're guiding you on your way. We don't want to overestimate your performance, but we want to keep you up to date on it. And we want to give you strategies that you're comfortable with to get from point A to B to C to D.
You have wonderfully outlined this, and it's so refreshing to hear, because it is so much different than some of the traditional plans and practices with other institutions that you would look up. The other thing that I get caught up on is the work optional lifestyle, because that is such a key phrase in all of this as well. And why is that important to you? Why should it be important to other people?
Really important. Everyone asks me this, what does the work optional lifestyle mean? Now, we have the old days of the 70s and 80s with that Freedom 55 ad where everyone got caught up on, I'm going to retire early, I'm going to retire early, I'm going to retire early. Here's the thing, work optional lifestyle. Couple things for this. First off, once I tell you you can retire, retire. Only work because you want to work, not because you have to work. But I'm a workaholic, as you know, and I work 24/7. But I look at my life as being retired, because and I've been doing this since I was in my 30s, I budget for a major retirement trip every year or two because you know what? I'll never hang it up. So that's what work optional means is maybe you work longer and you work till 65. I have clients who want to work till 70, 75, and they're in their 40s. They just love it. But they're doing the major trips now while they can. You know what? I don't know if you can hike Machu Picchu with 2 canes and a walker and an oxygen tank. So why not do it in your 40s when you can enjoy it? I don't want to wait till I'm 75 to see the Great Barrier Reef. Whatever the case may be, add those into your plan earlier. You may have to work a couple years longer, but you can do the things while you and your spouse are younger, healthier, and who knows, maybe you take your children and give them some world experiences on some of those trips. And maybe your budget, when we go through things and your cash flow dictates you can only do those things once every 2 or 3 years, but I'd rather do them once every 2 or 3 years than doing nothing till 65. And how this was developed was from really close friends of mine way back when, who I lectured them on the work optional lifestyle. And we took them on a big trip, my wife and I, because we lived at their house for like 4 months while our house was being built. And of course, it was behind schedule. They never did anything. The trip we took them on was the biggest thing they did. We did a cruise to the Caribbean. And guess what? They could afford it. They didn't need to work. But, well, we'll do all those things when I retire. We'll do all those things when I retire. And no joke, it was a Sunday in November, beautiful weather. And he said, well, I got another one of those invitations from the cruise company to go on a cruise. And I said to him, why don't you just go? Well, I only got a year and a half to go to get my 40-year pin, and then we'll do those things. That was the Sunday. 2 days later, on the Tuesday morning, he had a massive heart attack. He was dead by the following Monday. Never got to do any of those things. 14 months after his death, his wife died from cancer.
My goodness.
Their kids are living on all the hard work they did. There was no reason for that couple not to travel. And they wanted to travel. They just thought, we will do it tomorrow. If the times we're in these days have taught us anything, don't put off to tomorrow. Hence, I developed and rebranded what I was already doing, the OMNI Formula, because I thought never again am I going to have someone who I've developed a relationship with not retire when they can. Hence, once I tell you can retire, retire. Only work because you want to work, not because you have to work. And I take this very seriously. I do not tell people that they can retire until, and our staff is the same, until we've uncovered everything, because it's a one-shot deal. You can't go get a redo and go, I'll work another 20 years to earn my pension. So we go through every possible scenario, with the thing being to say to you, let's book that first trip. Let's plan on the growth in your money and start spending some of it. It's not there to make the financial advisor, the banker, the mutual fund salesperson rich. It's there for you to enjoy and, God willing, leave something to your kids if that's what you want to do later on. But get on board, get a plan, not a projection. Your money will be worth this if all these things happen. That's not a plan. That's a projection. Get a plan so you know what to do step by step along the way, so you can enjoy your money, not someone else enjoying their commission.
So it's way different than a traditional financial or even retirement plan. We've established that. We've gone over why it works so well and your commitment to a step-by-step GPS navigation to get you to where you want to go. And yet, Peter, your responsibility and your passion for people goes beyond just hitting retirement. It doesn't just stop there. So what would be a few of your recommendations for people that are now in retirement? They've followed along with some of your advice, but you know that your advice and recommendations don't stop the moment that they retire.
Absolutely. We're just beginning then. Here's something I've talked about recently. When you make it, take it. And people go, what the heck is he talking about again? There's that Cishecki.
You're good at the catchphrases, though, Peter. I like that.
It is. When you make it, take
Easy
it.
to remember.
I live by that, which means when you get retired, set those goals. What am I going to need for this trip? What am I going to need for that trip? Whatever the case may be, share that with your registered financial planner so they know when you make some money on an account, they should be in touch with you saying, Time to cash in that $10,000. You're off to Australia. You've made the money. And this happened. 2019 was an insane year for growth on the markets. We didn't know what 2020 was going to bring. Look what it brought us in 2020 when you're looking back. But if you made a ton of money and you're way ahead of what your plan says you need, cash in some profit. It's your money. Spend it while you can. You never know what tomorrow is going to bring. And that should be shared with your registered financial planner. Those targets should be built into their system. So they're saying to you, Mr. and Mrs. Client, you know that cruise you're looking for in 2 years from now? The money's there. Pay for the cruise now while you have it, before the money may go down or something else may happen. Spend the money when you have it. When you make it, take it, because that's what it's there for.
We could go on, and I think we will bring this up again in further
episodes
again because it's just so valuable, so important, and yet so refreshing again, because you are willing to, not only did you develop the formula, but you're willing to walk through it with people. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I hear all the time is that people have signed up for something that they don't really know how it works or how much responsibility they have themselves to stay in touch with it, and they don't really know what to do with some of the quote advice they've been given, because they've just accepted that now this is a road they have to go down, as opposed to one that they are being left the options available to them and being guided by GPS like the OMNI Formula. So it's so refreshing to hear that. Again, it's at Everything Financial. You can find Peter at everythingfinancial.com. And we are going to continue our podcast series with another biggie. It's that mortgage discussion, Peter, and that affects so many people right now as well, from refinancing to just getting in to the different types of mortgages that you need to or recognize when your life gets to that point.
Yeah, we're going to rip the Band-Aid off that. We're going to have a special guest from one of the colleagues we work with in the mortgage industry. And we're going to be able to show you the difference between simple interest and compound interest, because it's one of those things that people are misled on, not always intentionally. A lot of times it's from a lack of knowledge from the mortgage broker, but it is really a commission-based business. And not that commission is bad. And you know what I'm all about is long as you're told what the commission is. So we'll show you the difference. But one thing to make it easy, and our viewers won't really see this, but here we go. This is what we provide you with. When you come in and we're going through the plan, you get a map of the GPS, so you know why it takes as long as it does to develop and how we move from step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and along the way. And as I said, if somewhere along the way your mortgage and what you're doing, you're refinancing or purchasing, really needs to be front and center, we'll take that map and put it to the side and focus on that one issue that needs attention right now. We don't have to follow this so rigid that we can't go off course. That's the beauty of it. It's designed for us to go off course and then get you back on track. That's the whole point of the OMNI Formula. And mortgages will be a good one, because everyone can benefit from saving money on their mortgage and their house payment.
Love it, Peter. Reminder, subscribe, like, and share on the podcast platforms. You can find us on YouTube as well on that channel. And we really appreciate everybody checking out the podcast and sharing the podcast as well. It is the Your Money Personal Finance Podcast. John Abbott, your host, with Peter Cishecki from Everything Financial. You have questions about the OMNI Formula? I hope you do. You can reach us at yourmoney@everythingfinancial.com. That is episode 3. Please join us again for episode 4. As Peter mentioned, it'll be all about mortgages. Thanks again today, Peter.
Thanks a lot, John. Looking forward to the next one.